Alright YouTube, so we're back of course to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and today we're actually looking at something in regards to Remake itself, like information, news, whatever you want to say, which it feels like we haven't done in a while. It's been a lot of like, kind of speculation, discussion videos and stuff like that for Remake Part 2. But today we actually got a piece of concept art from Square Enix themselves over on Twitter, and it's concept art of Biggs and Wedge's like rooms, houses, apartments, whatever you want to call them. I think the word shack is more appropriate. It's actually kind of interesting, even though you don't get to see these in game, which I think this is what I love. Like, I'm assuming these might be somewhere else, like within one of the Ultimanias or something like that, because those have a lot of concept art. I think the Material Ultimania specifically, but this is the first time I'm seeing it, obviously because I don't own one of those, and I'm not seeing anybody else like tweet about these or talk about these. But anyways, I love seeing stuff like this because it's details about Remake that we don't get to see. Because we get to see a little bit of Jessie's apartment, right? Or her room, whatever, shack, whatever you want to fucking call it. We obviously get to see inside Tifa's room and see inside of Cloud's room, but we never got to see any aspect of Biggs and Wedge's. So these are details that I love. So they dropped this tweet and said, neither Biggs nor Wedge's rooms appear in Final Fantasy VII Remake, but we can show you what they look like here. Can you guess which room belongs to Wedge? Now, obviously, the last part of the tweet is kind of a joke because it takes like 0.5 seconds to realize which room is whose because Wedge's room is covered in cats. Like, that's all you needed to know. You see a cat, you know it's Wedge's room. Now, taking a bit of a closer look at his room, I love the little details, man. For one, there's like 5 cats in this room. The room's super messy, which makes sense. The dude takes care of, what, like 20-something cats. It looks like his window's open right here, so I'm assuming the cats can come in and out. If you remember in-game, there's all kinds of cats all around his house, so it makes sense that this shit's messy. Since people point out over here, you see his clothes, which I think is cool. This is like what his shorts, cargo pants, cargo shorts, whatever the fuck they are. His bandana, his like beige colored shirt, big bag cat food. You see these like snack boxes everywhere, stamped snacks. I'm wondering if this isn't like an early concept art version or like the early name of like the Stamps Champs chips or whatever. Maybe they just call them Stamp Snacks as like a generic name before they came up with an actual like brand name for it. You see boxes of cat food everywhere. The dude's all about the cats. I love it. Like, without even showing me concept art of what Wedge's room would look like, I would already assume that it was probably messy. As a cat owner myself, as somebody that owns, I have like 4 cats these days. Yeah, I can attest to them being pretty messy. And just if having multiple pets in general, like that's just bound to happen, right? Like, they're just going to mess up your house no matter how much you clean it. They're going to be playing with shit, knocking shit over all the time. It happens. On the flip side, however, we have Biggs' room, which is way nicer, almost spotless. Like his bedding's folded up. Even has what looks to be like almost like a shoe shining station here. He's got his boots up off the ground on this table. The bathroom section, so to speak, of his room looks pretty nice. Also, I guess he's maybe into tools and something. I don't know. We don't know a lot about Biggs. We didn't get a lot of information about the character Biggs with Remake. But I guess he's proficient with tools, has a desk right here, and a safe. I'm kind of curious what the safe would be about. What does Biggs need a safe for? And then what is a motor oil thing? I'm not entirely sure. But he's got his door wide open, which I think is pretty interesting. Which, when it comes to Biggs being this person who's like very clean, like I guess I never really thought about that of the character. But there is one moment in the game, and I think maybe it's whenever we parachute back down from like Jessie's parents' house back to the slums. At some point in the game, you see him like sweeping outside, like where I'm walking around right now, the dirt paths and shit. I'm assuming he's sweeping around outside of his house, which I guess that was like a hint towards him being like this cleanly person. But again, I never really would have thought that about him, but I guess that concept art kind of shows that. And that's like the majority of what we know about the character Biggs. We know that he's now a clean person based on like him sweeping in Remake, but also like the concept art of his room. And then we know the Leaf House, right, over there in like Sector 5 slums. Like that's the gist of what we know about the character Biggs, whereas we know, I think, vastly more about Jessie, of course, but we know quite a bit more, too, about Wedge. So maybe that's a part of why Biggs lives when it comes to Remake. We see him at the end of the game. Maybe there's going to be more for the character Biggs in the future. I mean, obviously there's going to be more for him because he's alive, he didn't die this time, like that's obvious, but I mean, like maybe that was part of the reason why they decided to let him live, and then maybe even potentially Jessie and Wedge, of course, just to give those characters a lot more than what they had in the original game. Not just a little bit more we got in Remake, but maybe a lot more in the future. I've seen people making a bit of jokes about this concept art because there's not a toilet in either of these pictures, like they don't have a place to use the bathroom, and that's just this concept art because we can cross-reference it with some other concept art that came out a little bit ago that it's from the Japanese Remake Twitter account, and you see like concept art of like Tifa and Cloud's rooms in Stargazer Heights, but they have toilets in this concept art. So it's just this particular concept art. If this was a real room, like they would have had some sort of pseudo bathroom for these characters if they would have put this into the game. By the way, it took me for fucking ever to track down that Tifa Cloud concept art. I remember seeing that a little while back. Couldn't remember exactly when or where I've seen it. So I went to the Remake Twitter account, scrolled back far to like May of this year. They didn't have, and then I thought it was something with Audrey, maybe something from Material Ultimania or some shit. So I scrolled her feed for a while, couldn't find anything. Searched her up on Twitter, Itakamochi, Cloud Tifa concept art, couldn't find anything. And then eventually I just went through my damn likes. I'm like, I had to at least have liked this damn tweet. And I scrolled through my likes for fucking ever. I realized how much I use Twitter once I had to scroll through my likes. And it turns out it was the Japanese remake Twitter account. It took me that was a whole mess itself to find this damn thing. But yeah, you guys know I love the little details, even if it's just concept art for some rooms and places we never got to see within the game. I'm assuming it's still like remotely sort of kind of canon, especially since they tweeted it out to show it off on Twitter and stuff like that. But yeah, we talk about like the smallest details all the time, right? We cover all kinds of little Easter eggs and references within Remake, and this is just something else I like to look at. I like to just stare at the rooms and see how these characters live. It kind of gives you an idea of like the personality of these characters, seeing their living space, if that makes any sense. It sucks that this wasn't in the game, but it's still pretty cool to have the concept art just to get a vague idea of what it could have looked like if they'd put it into the game. Man, it feels pretty good to actually have something Remake related to talk about that's almost news or info or whatever, Again, it feels like we haven't made one of these kind of videos in, I don't even know how long at this point, dude. It feels like it's been a couple of months. So I was definitely excited to make this video. Hopefully they keep dropping more concept art like this. They definitely put out more like tweets about concept art over the past couple of days or weeks, but it's like concept art we've already seen. Stuff that goes back as far as like 2019 that's not even remotely new. Hopefully they give us more stuff like this. But other dudes, that is pretty much the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys aren't new. So I did more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter, #YT. I'm a Discord. Links to social networks are in the description. In the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine, or leave it like Cobain.